A quadrant streak plate is a way to isolate individual colonies on an agar plate to observe colony morphology. It's also a useful technique to make pure culture that contains only one single species of bacteria. For a quadrant streak plate, you'll need your bacterial stock culture, your inoculating loop, and an uninoculated plate. Use a permanent marker to label the bottom of your plate with your initials, your class section, and the date. It's a good idea to also write the name of the bacteria with which you'll inoculate each plate. Light the Bunsen burner and adjust the air intake until you can clearly see the inner cone of the flame. Lightly flick or agitate the culture tube to mix the broth to ensure the bacteria are resuspended in the tube. Loosen the caps on the bacterial stock culture tube. Flame your loop, beginning at the portion of the wire closest to the handle and ending at the tip of the loop. You should see the wire and loop turn red as they're fully heated. Remove the wire loop from the flame. Wait briefly for it to cool. It's important the loop has a brief cooling period before placing it in the culture broth. If the wire is too hot, the bacteria to be transferred will be killed. Open the bacterial broth tube and hold the cap with your pinky finger. Briefly pass the open top of the glass tube through the flame to kill any microorganisms that may be contaminating the opening of the tube and could potentially contaminate the culture broth. Carefully dip your loop into the culture broth. There should be a film across the loop. Even if there's not a film, there are still bacterial cells present. If you hear a sizzling sound, your loop was too hot. Remove the loop and flame the opening of the tube again to eliminate any microorganisms that may have been introduced accidentally. Replace the cap and return the culture tube to the wire rack. Bring the tube to the cap, taking care to minimize movement of the loop. Pick up the uninoculated culture plate. Starting at the top of your plate, use your inoculating loop to make lines in the agar, going back and forth or side to side, just in the top section of your plate. This is your first section. There will be the heaviest bacterial growth here, and you'll probably not see isolated colonies. Flame your loop, but do not put it in the broth again. Cool your loop briefly, and then turn your plate 90 degrees counterclockwise until the empty section that was on the right-hand side of your plate is now at the top. Using your loop, make several lines back and forth across the agar surface, being sure to make 2 to 4 passes through the previously inoculated section, section 1, and then continue tracing lines back and forth, staying out of the inoculated section. You have now created a second section. Stop and flame your loop again. Let it cool briefly. Again, turn your plate 90 degrees counterclockwise until the empty section that was on the right-hand side of your plate is now at the top. Using your loop, make several lines back and forth across the agar surface, being sure to make 2 to 4 passes through the previously inoculated second section. And then continue, tracing lines back and forth, staying out of the inoculated section. You have now created a third section. Stop and flame your loop again. Let it cool briefly. Once again, turn your plate counterclockwise until the empty section that was on the right-hand side of your plate is now at the top. Using your loop, make several lines back and forth across the agar's surface, being sure to make 2 to 4 passes through the previously inoculated section. Then, continue tracing lines back and forth, staying out of the previously inoculated third section. You have now created a fourth section. You should have the most separation between bacterial colonies in this section. Reflame the inoculating loop, being sure to begin at the wire closest to the handle and ending with the loop. You may now set the inoculating loop down on the benchtop. Close your TSA plate. Invert it so that the plate is agar side up, and incubate at the required temperature,